I just keeps it up because the blues is something that people can't get rid of. Yeah.
The state of Texas has produced some of the most recognizable names in the blues genre. Stevie Ray Vaughan, T-Bone Walker, Billy Gibbons, and many more greats were natives of the Lone Star State. One of these legends would have a sizable influence on the Texas artists who followed and would go on to become, most probably, the most recorded blues artist in history. Lightnin Hopkins recorded more songs than anyone has bothered to count. He spent most of his career as the resident poet of Houston, outlasting the musical careers of many of his pre-war contemporaries and even enjoying brief success on the Billboard charts. The details of his life are often conflicting, due in no small part to Lightning's own retellings. In this video, we'll take a look at his life and what made him a quintessential bluesman. Samuel John Hopkins was born in Centerville, Texas on March 15, 1911 or 1912, depending on who you ask. When his musician father was killed over a card game in 1915, his mother relocated the family to nearby Leona, the same small town where bluesman Albert Collins was born in 1932. His older brother Joel played guitar, and Sam was drawn to the instrument at a very early age. At first, his brother refused to let him touch the guitar, but one day Joel caught Sam playing with the instrument. After Sam showed him that he had learned a few licks, Joel decided to teach him. Sam soon fashioned his own cigar box guitar with chicken wire for strings. At the age of 8, he had a life-changing experience when he saw blues legend Blind Lemon Jefferson perform at a church picnic. Blind Lemon Jefferson is considered the father of the Texas blues and was the first country blues artist to enjoy widespread recording success. Jefferson spent the latter half of the 20s selling loads of records, helping to make Paramount the premier record label for early blues artists. When Sam met him around 1920, Jefferson hadn't yet begun his recording career but was still highly popular and making a decent living on performing. Hopkins brought his cigar box guitar to the picnic, got behind the stage, and started playing along with Jefferson. This annoyed Jefferson, who paused to ask who was intruding on his set. The bluesman was amazed and let go of his annoyance when he was answered by a young child. He encouraged Sam to keep playing, and this began a friendship between the two. Whenever Sam could make it to a Blind Lemon gig, he would show up and join in. Sam was supposedly the only guitarist who Jefferson would allow to play alongside him. This encouragement from a professional blues artist made Sam determined to follow the same path. Starting in the late 20s, still in his teens, he began living the life of an itinerant bluesman. He partnered with his cousin Texas Alexander. Alexander was a singer who couldn't play an instrument, so he regularly teamed up with guitarists like Sam for accompaniment. They based themselves out of Houston and played gigs throughout East Texas. The late 20s through the 30s was a tumultuous time in Hopkins' life. Often broke, he would hop trains and stay in hobo camps where he would entertain his fellow hobos. Much of his time was spent drinking, fighting, and hell-raising, sometimes getting on the wrong side of the law. He had done time on the chain gang and had the scars around his ankles to prove it. In the mid-30s, he did time in the Houston County Prison Farm. The crime that landed him there is a mystery because he himself gave several wildly different accounts. Whether it was for adulterous relations with a white woman, crashing his car to avoid hitting a pig, or something else, it's not clear. Out of prison, he spent another brief period with Texas Alexander, but his touring career soon ran out of steam, and by the early 40s, he found himself in the drudgery of farm labor. Many pre-war blues artists gave up music during this period due to changing tastes, hard living, and a lack of income, but Hopkins proved unwilling to hang up his hat for good. After a few years, he was drawn back to playing professionally and went back to Houston. He settled in Houston's 3rd Ward, a center for African Americans in the city. It was in a 3rd Ward nightclub that he was found by a talent scout for Aladdin Records. Sam made his first recordings for Aladdin in LA with a pianist named Wilson Smith. The recording label decided to bill the duo as Lightnin Hopkins and Thunder Smith. From now on, Lightnin would be his stage name. The 12 sides he recorded for Aladdin with Wilson would be the start of the most prolific recording career in all of blues music. In 1949, Lightnin charted his first juke joint hit with a Mance Linscomb song called Tom Moore's Farm, about a notoriously harsh Texas farm owner who mistreated his laborers. Lightnin changed the name to Tim Moore, hoping that the real Tom Moore wouldn't figure out that the unflattering song was about him. He figured it out anyway and supposedly said, "Lightnin Hopkins from Houston, if I see that bastard, I'm gonna kill him." A year later, in 1950, his recording of Shotgun Blues reached number 5 on Billboard's R&B charts, the highest charting song of his career. He later reworked the song into Bring Me My Shotgun, another popular piece. T-Model Blues, Give Me Central 209, and Coffee Blues were also hits during this period. By the mid-50s, his hit-making days were done, but he continued to record and record some more. It's not certain how many songs Lightnin recorded in his career, but estimates are as high as 1,000. He seemed to be an endless source of material and found churning out songs easy. He once supplied a record label with enough material to release new singles for 6 years. In 1959, with the folk music revival in full swing, musicologist Mac McCormick found Lightnin and invited him onto the new music scene that had an obsession with old blues artists. This really wasn't a rediscovery, as was the case with Son House and Skip James, who had both long since given up music as a career. Lightnin was a current recording artist and live performer. This discovery only served to broaden his audience and open up a new set of higher-paying gigs all over the country. In 1960, he performed as part of a folk concert in America's most prestigious venue, Carnegie Hall. Sharing the bill were Pete Seeger and Joan Baez. Auditoriums hosting integrated audiences were a far cry from the beer joints of East Texas.
Now baby, please don't go. Now baby, please don't go. Now baby, please don't go back to New Orleans.
He would spend the rest of his career, all the way up to the early 80s, appearing at music festivals and even venturing as far away as Japan. At the same time, he continued to record albums. Lightnin was often accompanied by backing bands who had to contend with his unpredictable chord changes. Much like John Lee Hooker, Lightnin wasn't terribly concerned with rigid song structure. He once expelled a bassist from the stage in the middle of a show because he wasn't able to follow along. In 1968, he recorded with his most famous backing group, the Austin, Texas-based 13th Floor Elevators. They're now known to rock history as the first group to label themselves as psychedelic. Lightnin kept performing live through 1981 before his death on January 30th, 1982 from esophageal cancer. His huge recorded legacy, along with numerous films capturing his live playing, form an essential and influential part of the Texas blues subgenre. Artists from Texas who have become household names pay tribute to him in their own music. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out some of the captivating music that Lightnin Hopkins put on record. If you enjoy the content on this channel, please consider tipping me via PayPal or Patreon, or checking out my album, all linked below, and please like, subscribe, and share.